so I decided to treat myself to a solo dinner date at one of my favorite restaurants. But I made the mistake of posting about it online, and within a day or two, my mother contacted me and asked me to come visit them. I was baffled as to what they could possibly want from me now, since we hadn't even spoken after the divorce was finalized and they'd supported my ex and her lies. I managed to ignore it for a few days, but then she started calling me relentlessly, and eventually, when nothing else worked, she showed up to my office. She simply refused to leave and got into a fight with the receptionist, which was pretty embarrassing, so I promised that I'd visit in a few days, which was how I was finally able to convince her to leave. A couple of days after that, I finally visited my family. They'd used the settlement amount to move into a bigger house so they could accommodate the baby as well, who'd been born just a little over 3 weeks ago. I guess that the alimony was also being used to pay the bills, but truth be told, it didn't really affect me that much since the alimony was a really small part of my salary at this point and I could afford it. My brother wasn't home and my ex was asleep, so it was just my parents who spoke to me. I didn't try to make any small talk and simply waited for them to get to the point, so after around 5 minutes of silence, my father blurted out that my brother had been fired from his job and the alimony and settlement just weren't cutting it anymore. They said that they'd seen the post about my promotion and were hoping that I could help them out since they were running low on money now. My parents retired a long time ago, my brother was out of a job, and my ex obviously wasn't going back to work anytime soon. The alimony wasn't enough to pay the bills for a family of 5, especially with a newborn in the house, and I knew that, too. However, I was shocked that they'd even had the audacity to approach me for it after everything that had happened. I was so shocked that I didn't even have anything to say for a good few minutes. But finally, I came to my senses and decided that I didn't need to entertain any of this. I simply got up and left without a word. When I reached the door and opened it, I found my brother standing outside. My parents were telling me to stay back and hear them out, and my brother looked a little alarmed to see me there. I still didn't say anything and proceeded to leave. It was raining pretty heavily and it was a short walk to where I'd parked my car outside their lawn, so I got completely drenched and I was already in a horrible mood. Now this is where I might have been the odd, because my parents and brother came after me, and while I was looking for my keys in my pocket, they decided to ask me for help one last time. And this time, it was my brother who was making the plea. He's always been smug and arrogant, a direct result of the way our parents treated us. So it was weird to see him asking me for help, and it must have taken a lot of trouble to convince him, so they were definitely being honest about the bad phase. Anyway, I sort of lost my cool and ended up telling them to leave me alone and that they could beg on the streets if they were really that hard pressed for cash, since a stranger who knew nothing about them was probably more likely to take pity on their condition than I was. Having said that, I got in my car and drove away, leaving them in the rain. I'm not going to lie, it was pretty satisfying to do that to my family since they'd done nothing but mistreat me my whole life. It's been 2 days since that happened and, well, I'm not sure if I'm right anymore. My mother has been texting me nonstop and I feel so guilty for not helping them out. I know I have a lot and sending them a little money won't actually hurt me, but after everything that's happened, it just feels like I'm being used, quite frankly. So I'd offer not helping my family out with money after they took my ex's side in the divorce? Update 1. So, I decided not to help them out. It was a pretty big deal for me since I felt awfully guilty about how I was just going to abandon them, but then I realized that, well, they'd been doing that to me my entire life. And even in the divorce, they'd been the ones who had thrown me under the bus, so why should I think twice before doing the same to them? I told my mother to stop pestering me or else I'd be forced to get my lawyers involved, and that wouldn't end well for them. Now that naturally irked them, and so, my brother showed up to my house a few days ago to talk to me. He told me that while he felt sorry for how I'd been treated my entire childhood, he couldn't help the fact that he just was inherently better than me, which is why he was also treated like that. And he also told me that I should stop being so weird with our parents for doing what any other normal parent would have done in their place and just help them out since they're in a tough spot instead of holding grudges like a child. I laughed in his face because of how absolutely demented he sounded, talking crap like that. I told him that instead of trying to put me down and manipulate me into helping them out, he should probably be out looking for a job and not wasting his time like this. That touched a nerve, I think, and he started yelling at me about how I was just jealous of the fact that not just our parents but even my ex-wife preferred him over me, and I was taking revenge by refusing to give my family money. I didn't even bother to fight back and just agreed with him, saying that all that I was doing was just to get revenge on him and there wasn't much that he could do about it. So he got super pissed off and told me that he was going to come after me and forced me to cough up the money one way or another, and I'd regret ever speaking to him that way. Honestly, I'm not taking any of that seriously in the least. He can try to scare me all he wants, but it's just not going to work because I know he's not capable of doing anything at all to me. I'm unbothered.